So I should be clear, we were backstage trying to figure out what song you should... Yeah, and we chose the Roddy Piper.
Just Roddy Piper, the bagpipe song.
Whenever I think of you, I most closely associate with Roddy Piper.
Yeah, that's on brand for me. Yeah. We'll be right back with I Don't Care About This Conversation.
That's what that song is in Scottish, Scotch Gaelic. I don't really, that song's Gaelic name is I Don't Care About This Conversation.
I'm glad you took the effort to wear a great jacket for this Q&A. Would it kill you to wear a blazer, Tom?
Yeah.
I didn't know this is Bryan Adams con here.
So can let me get rid of that one.
Yeah.
I really like your. No, let's not do that one. Let's not do that one.
Really? Only the bad ones?
Only the bad ones.
Okay.
So in 1998, you got your start doing stand-up. You took a break from it when you were doing movies and TV, but you got back into it this year. So right off the bat, how does it feel to be back at it?
Oh man, this is unlike any other feeling. I hadn't done stand-up in 10 years, and for me to come back at this level and headline and also just kind of tell the stories of the past 10 years of kind of why I quit my medical job to go into acting, it's been so unexpectedly cathartic and therapeutic, and I really get to kind of, without any editing, really just kind of talk about my life in the sense that where sometimes when you're doing television and movies, you know, you're always either being directed or being given notes on development, and it's so nice to have like a platform where I don't feel restricted at all, for better or for worse.
Does that feel different? I mean, now that you're already famous, does doing stand-up feel different now than it did when you were starting out? Because you did it starting out, right?
Absolutely, yeah. It feels a lot different because starting out, you know, just for me, I'm kind of a shy, nervous guy where I felt like I really had to prove myself, especially doing stand-up, especially I got my start at JFL in Montreal, and you know, there's all, and not just me, every comic, you want to have that really killer 10 minutes. You really want to just do a tight set. You really have to grab their attention. And it's nice to know that, you know, usually they're my own fans coming out to my shows, and I don't have to, I've already gotten past that first level of dating, if you will, and you can get to know me better, yeah.
Chris Rock says you only get 5 minutes, though. He says when you're famous, you get 5 minutes for free.
Yeah, less if you're less famous, I guess, you know. He gets 5 minutes, I get 1.
Do you know what I mean by that? Like you get 5 minutes where everyone's gonna laugh no matter what.
Give you some grace.
Because they're excited that you're there. Have you found that as well?
Oh yeah, you gotta come prepared, and that's one of the reasons why I didn't want to, because I'd been offered to do a lot of stand-up just in general over the last 10 years. I didn't want to use my old act, and I didn't want anything to sound dated, because you can coast on that fame for just a few minutes, but if you don't have an act, the audience is very unforgiving, and stand-up audience are actually very smart. They'll know, oh, he's just coasting, you know?
Tell me about the first time you went back up.
First time I went back up, it was mid-January, like January 20th. I went up at the Laugh Factory, and I only had 10 minutes. I had about 5, really like 5 minutes, and I started using some of the jokes I had done on. I actually watched my YouTube myself, and I watched old talk shows like Conan, and like Letterman, and anything that was a funny story that was like of a stand-up variety. I used that, and then I used that to springboard off of my act.
And it went all right. You felt good.
It went okay. It went okay. It wasn't as it was. I knew it was a bit. It was a bit fluffy. It wasn't like there weren't real hard jokes there. And it's funny, those jokes that I used to get my start, I've lifted it out. I'm lifted it out of my rotation because like I just shot my for my other headlining sets. I just lifted that out because they weren't real jokes, but it helped give me the confidence to kind of get in.
So it's a nice opportunity to talk to you kind of about your life so far and some of the things you do talk about in the stand-up special. I think it's well known that you were a working doctor for a very, very long time, but I know there was also a time where you were kind of doing both at the same time, right? Tell me a little bit more about that.
Yeah, I was practicing internal medicine, like general practitioner at an HMO in LA for 7 years, and during that time, I was also doing stand-up comedy at night, and it was kind of my golf. I didn't think there was anything weird about it, oddly enough. I actually thought it was,
seems perfectly normal.
Okay, Tom.
Yeah.
All right.
It's the jacket.
All right, jean jacket. Okay, all right.
Yeah.
But no.
These were the best days of my life. That's it. It's a Bryan Adams joke. Okay.
Maybe it's hard to believe you're in heaven. Now,
You tell the story, I'll run to you. Don't worry about it. That's all right.
Because everything I do for you. This can go on all hour. I will go.
Good night, everybody. It's a real pleasure.
I want a Bryan Adams pun fit. I will go there, guys. But I was doing stand-up comedy at night. So during the time when I was single and I wasn't dating anyone, I would actually work during the day at the age from 9 to 5. It's a clinic job. And at night I would go to the Improv and try to get stage time because I was accepted into the comedy club, but I was in the rotation, but I kind of had, it's almost like hanging out at a basketball court to get into a pickup game kind of thing. Yeah.
But I also heard that you were like, I heard this on an interview one time, that if you needed something kind of quickly done in medicine, like if you needed to get a patient of yours in to see a specialist quickly,
I was very good about that.
You could call up a buddy.
Yes.
And be like, hey, you want to go see...
I did. I was killing two birds with one stone, in the sense that I remember someone needed an MRI really quick. And one of my best friends was a radiologist that worked there at Kaiser. And I waited till, he would be on call. And then I would ask him, like, would you mind if this patient could kind of jump in line and get that MRI quick? Sure. You going to do stand-up anytime soon? Yeah, I'm going to the Ice House tomorrow. Dude, can I get 2 tickets, me and my girlfriend? Yeah, well, So it would be like this weird healthcare bartering system for really bad jokes. Yeah.
I like how you could have, and someone pointed this out, but you could have kept doing it like now.
Oh,
you'd be like, yeah, you want to go to the Oscars?
You want? Yeah. I'm more of a Golden Globes kind of gal, so I don't think I need to. Yeah, it's just like those doctors get more spoiled with the favors.
So we thought we could play a game with you about being a doctor and an actor.
Okay.
Okay, so it's kind of like Would You Rather?
Okay.
Only not like that. Holding it back. Would you rather give a scared child a flu shot or audition for a role you don't really want?
I would rather give a scared child a flu shot.
Really?
Yeah, because at least there's a better chance that endeavor will be successful. Right. You know what I mean? Quite frankly.
Would you rather do a colonoscopy, perform one, or do a press junket?
I'd rather do a press junket. Yeah. I mean, even if I was fully trained in colonoscopies, the prep alone is like, if you want to go there.
Yeah, let's do it.
Yeah, if you want to.
So what happens first?
Yeah, we'll see what happens, public radio. If you...
You want to test me?
You want to test me?
You want to test me?
You want to test me, NPR? You want to test me, Q? Yeah. Yeah, you drink a gallon and go lightly. I would honestly rather do 20 interviews in a row, during my zeitgeist years going, so what's the worst hangover you ever had? I'd rather hear that 30 times than do a colonoscopy.
Let me just get rid of this question. Okay, right? Would you rather work an overnight shift at Emergency or sit in a makeup chair for 10 hours?
Oh. It's like crap versus poop on that one. Gosh, both are equally intense. I mean, honestly, I think everyone will be like, "Why not the makeup chair?" Though that is like death in many ways if you're there for 10 hours. So, I may just by a hair. I may have to just work in an ER. Yeah, for a dude because you're just
that bad, eh?
Because it's active when you're. I mean, there was a couple of movies I've done where I've had to do makeup or go in a vampire's outfit. It's brutal. I mean, to anything over an hour, I get really jumpy or antsy. Like anything like 2 or 3 hours, because it's hard, man.
Yeah, I heard like Jim Carrey. When Jim Carrey was doing The Grinch, they brought in like CIA torture experts to coach him through how to do 20 hours. This is a true story. It's not a gag, but yeah, it's true story.
I totally see that because it's really. Because if you care about your craft like Jim does, so you got to go through all the prosthetics and all the latex. You as a performer, you actually get concerned, especially in comedy, like, okay, is this going to cover my own performance? I actually don't like to wear a lot of makeup or do a lot of prosthetics because I feel like that gets in the way of what I do. So I totally understand that because it takes a lot of patience just to sit in that chair. I mean, like the few times I remember in Dungeons and Dragons, the episode on Community, they put me in all blackface. I was playing a drow elf, and that was like 2 hours. And and the little eyelashes, whatever little eyelashes I had, they did it was very down to a T. And I listened to music and I put my favorite tunes on. But I believed actually, and that one was different because I believed in I believed in what we were doing, that was good for the comedy. So part of that actually informed my character of what to do. So that gave me, as long as I'm really on board with it, I'll sit. But if I'm not, I won't. You know?
Can you still practice medicine?
Technically, I still have my license. I haven't practiced in over 10 years, but it's kind of, I do keep up my license in California. I read, $1,000 a year, but that's what that takes to, and then you have to watch a little bit of kind of continuing medical education videos. Like my wife's also a doctor, and she still practices part-time, so I basically.
So it's not the kind of thing you don't have to put in, like, you're not a pilot, you have to put in a certain amount of hours in a walk-in clinic.
Yeah, I don't have to do like 5 prostate exams a day or something. I was doing a movie, okay? Yeah. Studio or independent? Studio? Okay, you don't have to do the prostate.
There was, as we mentioned, there was an overlap between you as an actor and your time as a doctor. At what point did you decide, kind of crystallize, I just want to do acting?
That was Knocked Up. That was the first movie that I booked back in, it came out in 2007, but I booked that in 2006, and I still had my day job at that time. I played the doctor to Katherine Heigl, and it was honestly the most transformative moment of my career at that time, and I shot that movie while taking a vacation week. I shot that movie in 3 days, and it was amazing because anybody in comedy who was in that movie. It was Seth Rogen, Paul Rudd, Jonah Hill, Jason Segel, Bill Hader, Kristen Wiig were all in it. It felt like an event, and at the end of it, when Judd said to me, he actually said after filming, he said, "You are my discovery. I will put you in all of my movies," and he did. So it was at that point where.
Does he talk like that?
Huh? Yeah.
You are my discovery. I will put you in all my movies.
Yeah, he had a cloak and dagger. I went into his lair. You don't know that? Yeah.
He doesn't use contractions in his speech.
No, he does not.
It will be good. Yeah, right.
Yeah. You have a lot to learn about showbiz, baby.
Yeah. Jackets, number one.
Jacket number one.
Jacket number one.
2, stop using them contractions, okay?
Speaking of contractions, back to Knocked Up. Sorry.
God.
Yeah. They got Ben Mulrooney out there just to sub out at any moment.
I don't know. Tom just graduated magna cum laude at comedy camp.
Yeah, that's it. Took a couple of courses.
Prop work.
But it was around the Hangover when you did leave medical practice.
Yes, right? It was around that time that literally within a matter of months, sooner than that, I decided it was time for this college kid to go pro, so to speak. Yeah.
So how many people here first saw Ken on The Hangover? Yeah, all right.
Wow.
So in that case, then this clip right here was your introduction to Ken Jeong. Take a look.
Oh, I'm gonna kill you.
He just said the words, "I'm going to kill you."
Yeah.
Is that what it
I am going to.
What was that? It's in the trunk. Duck's in the trunk! Holy shit! Shit! Holy shit! Open it! Okay. Open it! Please stop! Okay. Whoa! I'm with you! You gonna fuck on me? Nobody's gonna fuck on you! We're on your side! I hate Godzilla! I hate him too! I hate him! He destroys cities! Please! This isn't your fault. I'll get you some pants. Go!
Ken Jeong in The Hangover.
I haven't seen that in so long.
When was the last time you saw that?
I haven't seen that scene literally in days. No, I haven't seen that. It's been a few years since I've actually saw that scene, yeah.
So you got to tell me something about shooting that scene.
Yeah. Say it again.
Well, tell me something about shooting that scene.
Oh, that was my idea to be naked in The Hangover. I pitched that, and Todd Phillips, the director, who did Old School, I knew this was on tone, with Todd Phillips' movies. So when I like nervously pitched him, do you think it'd be okay if Chow jumps out naked instead of just having pants? He was like, "You don't have to ask me twice." That's a very good Todd Phillips impression.
Yeah, that's good.
That's pretty good. And so he literally within an hour, he sent someone to make me sign a contract, stating that I would not change my mind.
Right.
Not to be naked.
Right.
He knew that would be the right right move for that. But he wouldn't dare ask the actor to do that. So we knew we were kind of onto something at that time.
How quickly after The Hangover came out did you notice that something had changed?
Oh, within that weekend. I mean, I'm eating sushi at the same spot with my wife that we normally do. Like during that week and the movie came out, everyone's just staring at me, and life just changed from black and white to Technicolor. It really did. It just got. Ever since then, it's kind of been more of a spotlight. Yeah.
There was a lot, and we don't have to go too much into this, but there was a lot going on in your life around the time of shooting The Hangover, right?
Yeah.
Regarding your wife as well.
Yeah, and I talk about it in my act tonight, actually, where, my wife's a breast cancer survivor, 10 years cancer-free. So I've already given the ending, so everything's fine. But it was at that point where she was going through her chemotherapy, I got offered the part of Mr. Chow in The Hangover. And what a lot of people don't know about, I actually turned down that part. Even though she was actually recovering, the first dose of chemo actually got rid of the cancer. But she had 12 more rounds of chemo to go, and I did not want to leave her side for understandable reasons. And we have twin girls. We have two 11-year-old twin girls, Alexa and Zoe. And so, and we had really no one to help take care of the kids at home. So I was like, no, we didn't know The Hangover would be a big movie at that time. So it's not uncommon to turn down parts like this. And so I was like, no, I'm politely declined. And it was Todd Phillips, and it was my wife herself. She was like, look, I know I'm getting better, and we know we're on the recovery slope of this, so I think this could be therapeutic for you in many ways. It was actually my wife's encouragement to do the movie, and so and there's a bit of trivia in The Hangover. Actually, my wife's Vietnamese, and I speak in Vietnamese in The Hangover. There's a couple things, just some in-jokes just to make her laugh when I say "gachik," which is the audience thinks it's released Black Doug. It actually means a Vietnamese chicken die. It was just some random phrase. And it was just because we didn't know The Hangover would be that. I thought that this would be a great comedy cult movie, and no one knew at that time it would be, one of the biggest R-rated movies of all time. So there's a few, I say "kamang," which means, you think I'm saying come on in an accent, it actually means thank you in Vietnamese. So I was just doing little things that just to make me laugh in that first movie.
Were you there when she saw it for the first time?
Yes. We saw it together at a screening. Todd had a family and friends screening, and we saw it together, and I remember vividly, it was like 3 months before the movie came out. She could not stop laughing. When the first moment where Bradley Cooper was like, Tracy, we effed up, that kind of, and Tran just got it. She just could not stop laughing, and because I kept downplaying. I said, this is going to be a dude's movie. You may or may not like it. This is a bro movie. And she was like, no, it's not. She actually said, I don't think Todd even knows this, but she said, this movie will make $200 million. She said that, and it did. It went like 278 or something like that. Uh-huh. It was amazing. Not that I know numbers or anything like that. 467 worldwide. Now.
I don't know what any of those numbers mean. But I don't want to harp on this too much, but I understand that, like, being naked in the film and kind of going all out was sort of inspired by your wife in so many ways, because I think you learned something about the value of life, right?
No, it informed my comedy, because if you look at my work prior till then, I had done Knocked Up, Role Models, and had done The Office. We were talking backstage, one of my first guest roles was on The Office back in 2005.
Do you guys remember Ken being on The Office?
Yeah,
anyone remember that?
It was like in the improv class, one of my favorite, to this day, still my favorite guest starring role in any show. Paul Feig directed that. It was amazing. And but until then, I was kind of known to be more of the subtle, character actor that wasn't famous, but a good hand on the set. Which is all I wanted to be, was just to be a good character actor. I didn't, it was not in the cards, I thought, for me to be noticed or
why
famous. I felt like, I thought I was older, and I felt like I just felt like I had that character look, and I just wanted to be a character. I had no desire to be a lead in anything. Right. So I just said, and I think that the fear of like going back into medicine if this fails was always weighing in my head. So I was like, man, if I can just score a couple of roles, like, oh, you're that doctor from Knocked Up, and if I have to go back to my day job, in my mind, I still won. Right. So I always had that thing in my head, like, okay, maybe I have to go back. And so by the time I forgot what I was saying. I just enjoy talking about myself.
We were talking about the change. So when your wife got sick,
Yes.
there was a change in how you approached your career.
If you look on the Blu-ray DVD of Hangover 1, there's me in the desert. I'm doing this improv for 10 minutes, and it's not this refined UCB kind of improv. It is like I'm literally channeling me being really mad at the demons at the world for, cursing my wife with cancer. I remember that vividly, and I was just like shouting. I was screaming the most politically incorrect things. I still don't remember what I said, but it was just raw as I've ever been on any set. And I just remember yelling a lot, and I got this big applause at the end of it. And I went to Todd. I was like, man, this is what I need. It's so therapeutic. So I just remember thinking that, and I would think about trans cancer while on set, just to get me into character, playing Mr. Chow as aggressively as I did. So it kind of taught me that life is, it's the whole adage of life is short, so you might as well, while you're here, just make the most of whatever opportunity you got. And I definitely channeled that in the Hangover movies, because it was like that right there is just kind of, when I think about it, it's complicated for me to watch it, because especially the first one, because I end up thinking about Tran a lot, and then but also on a positive side, I end up thinking like, wow, this is just don't think sometimes, just do it, don't overthink.
I'm so happy she's feeling better.
She's better, and she's great. She's so supportive to this day. She is the one who told me to quit my day job. She's the one who told me we had just gotten married when I was going to quit. I was always Korean into being pre-med. I thought it was my Korean obligation as a firstborn son to stay. I'm going to be that talented guy who could have been an actor that's a doctor the rest of my life. I really thought that was my fate.
Right.
And it was my wife was like, that doesn't have to be your fate. And I don't want you, and especially after filming Knocked Up, she was like, we had just gotten married, and she was like, I'm not going to have you resent me the rest of our marriage. I'm not going to hold you back,
Right.
If you're looking for an excuse to not do it, I'm not going to be your excuse.
Do you remember when you were young, though? I mean, I'm trying to factor in all the reasons perhaps you thought you had to be a doctor. Do you remember seeing Asian Americans on television doing comedy when you were young?
Pat Morita is the only one I really remembered, from The Karate Kid, and Henry Cho, when I was in college, a lot of people don't talk about him, but he was a Korean-American comedian from Knoxville, Tennessee, who had a kind of southern accent. He's really funny, and he was on Jay Leno a lot. I remember he was a big influence. And then obviously Margaret Cho, who was really the pioneer, and to this day, she is still like the I don't know, she is kind of the godmother of contemporary Asian Canadian comedy. She really is just kind of the reason we're all here.
Well, let's play the next clip. Take a look at this.
Oh.
They had a real problem with me because I look this way, but I talk this way. That was like a problem, and they're trying to be sensitive about it. They're like, Margaret, we don't want you to take this the wrong way, but could you be a little bit more, I don't know, Chinese? Well, actually, I'm Korean. Whatever. And I was supposed to go on the show and tell jokes. What was I supposed to do? Oh, my husband is so fat. That when he sit around the habuku, he really sit around the habuku. Gong.
That's great.
That is a good joke.
That still holds up, man.
Applause for Margaret Cho anyway. I know she's not here.
Dude. That is kind of the algorithm of every Asian American comic. That's when you start out, is that algorithm. Talk about family, you talk about the household, it's everything. That's the algorithm, that's the starting off platform for every Asian American comedian.
But she's also talking about the expectations put on her.
Yes, absolutely.
As well.
Yes, it's all about expectations. It's all about, even in my own act, I do a version of that, which is like tonight, where I talk about how when I left, my dad was not happy when I left medicine, and so he was like, you bring great shame to Jeong family. And then after the Hangover, we are so proud. I knew you make it, boy. I knew you make it. We are so proud of your tiny ding dong. Now, can I get S-Class Mercedes?
And
I did. I got him too.
Did you really?
I bought him too.
That's awesome. That's pretty good. Pretty good. I just need one. That's all I need. I just need one. Well, but it's been part of the conversation ever since Crazy
Well, he wrecked the first one. That's why I bought him another one. I'm not even joking. I wrecked the car. He goes,
Are you serious?
Yeah, I'm serious. He goes, I have to pay for insurance. I'll just buy you another one.
Well, he wrecked the Mercedes you bought him?
Yeah, he totally wrecked it. I don't know. He was leaving the Soho house. I don't know.
Yeah.
He was partying with Joaquin Phoenix. You know? He totally changed. He was wrong with a hardcore crew.
Yeah. You were home.
Yeah, I'm like with Pat Monahan and Train. You know, I'm like very like Bryan Adams. You know, the Mellow Rockers, Richard Marx, those guys. You know, your father now. Okay.
Interesting. Richard Marx is my father. I don't know if you know that. Well, the reason I'm talking about this is because so much was made, so much was talked about with Crazy Rich Asians. I don't know if anyone saw Crazy Rich Asians.
Thank you.
And the conversation was about how far we've come, far we've come in representation, how far we've come in Asian American representation in cinema. And the point, and I don't have a clip for this, I promise, but the point we had come from being like 16 Candles, like Long Duk Dong and 16 Candles. I don't know, do you remember that one?
Oh, yeah.
Like that was kind of what you saw on TV, right?
Yeah, I mean, I think now, man, Crazy Rich Asians, that is like the first project, the first major movie that's become this global hit where I don't think about, what's in it for me? You know, it's the first movie I've done where that has really hit, where I'm like, I am so happy for the movement as opposed to the movie. John Chu, the director, is like, this is not a movie, it's a movement. Right. And we're all drinking off of that Kool-Aid while we're filming it. This is not about, we all knew it's really not about us. It's not how to get to that, at least for me. It's not how to get to that next level. It's like, I have friends of mine that I've quietly kind of produced other, like very talented Asian American filmmakers, and I've quietly produced and even financed some independent movies. And one of them went to Sundance, is Advantageous, this Asian American coming of age drama. It was like my first really dramatic role, and it won a jury award at Sundance. And it was like, I really have evolved. I think the older I get, and as my kids get older, if they want to get into the business, I think about their future, and I think that show business, when approached correctly, is so rewarding that I would love for my kids to get in the business, and I think about them now more than I do myself. And when I think about Crazy Rich Asians and that success, I have I'm thinking about friends of mine that are texting me like, oh my God, they're just greenlighting my project now, because I use Crazy Rich Asians in the pitch,
Yeah.
and more movies are getting greenlit. Studio movies featuring Asian American talent.
I guess the point I'm trying to make with Margaret Cho's clip and talking a little bit about this is that oftentimes we think that these great strides are taken through drama. They're taken through serious, impactful drama. But comedy has a lot to do with it, right?
Yeah, you're right. I don't think I had really thought about that. But I do remember thinking, man, it is amazing that the cultural milestone of this at least of this time is a comedy as opposed to a drama like Joy Luck Club, which is so amazing and has so many layers. But it is
25 years this year.
25 years.
Since Joy Luck Club.
Yeah, absolutely. And so it is remarkable that through comedy, which is very tricky, and also, movie comedies are kind of a dying art. So I think in so many ways it was just lightning striking in terms of its box office success. But I knew even if Crazy Rich Asians wasn't a box office hit, it was really one of the best things I've ever been a part of.
Do you carry that with you? Do you think about the weight of what it means for you to have you in a role as a comedian?
I didn't initially, and I think just because I just quit my medical job and see if I could just exist and not having to go back. But yeah, I think about it. I think about it all the time. I think about it a lot more because knowing I am who I am, and knowing that, knowing that I have a voice. The only thing I can be right now is just to be myself and to have my work express whatever I'm thinking. And that's why I like stand-ups. Maybe that's why I like stand-up so much, because this is the only time, like in my art, that I'm kind of being as close to myself as possible. Yeah.
When I sat down with you earlier, I nerded out with you about The Office right off the bat.
Yeah, we were talking,
But then I said, I just wanted to let you know how much I loved you in Community.
Thank you. Thank you so much.
Can we...
Thank you.
Can we play that clip?
Please.
Just watch this.
Every once in a while, a student will come up to me and ask, Senor Chang, why do you teach Spanish? They say it just like that. Why do you teach Spanish? Why You. Why not Matt? Why not photography? Why not martial arts? I mean, surely it must be in my nature to instruct you in something that's ancient and secret, like, oh, building a wall that you can see from outer space. Well, I'll tell you why I teach Spanish. It is none of your business, okay? And I don't want to have any conversations about what a mysterious, inscrutable man I am. I am a Spanish genius.
That I have not seen in years, too. Oh, my God, that just takes me back. That was my very first scene on Community ever. I had not even met everybody prior to that filming. And it brings me back so many memories because Dan Harmon, who wrote and created the show, he's a genius, one of the smartest people I've ever met. He's one of the smartest people I've ever met in my life, much less in comedy. And I remember I improvised a lot of that. Yeah. And he later told me, years later, he was going freaking nuts. He was not, because Dan Harmon is a lot like, he's like a playwright. You really don't improvise on Community much. I mean, so you see me improvise on The Hangover in a lot of my movies. Well, a lot of people don't know. Community, actually, improv is discouraged. And I don't want to improvise because the writing is so tight and so good. And Dan Harmon has a certain flow, like in any good play. Yeah. But I didn't know that. I came with my movie kind of approach. And I was just improvising. I was doing all these things. And I later heard friends of mine who wrote on that show, they're like, Dan was going freaking nuts. He was not happy. But then when he saw the edit, he was like, wow, I can use that. When there was a moment where I go, I'm an LT grade chino. That was all improvised by me. Yeah. I literally had an LT grade jacket. In a paintball episode, they had an LT, like a tiger striped AK-47 paintball, that Chang uses. So it was one of the rare moments on Community where like an improv of mine really informed and fleshed out that character. And years later, Dan told me, was like, yeah, I'm glad, even though I'm glad looking back, I'm glad you improvised so much, but just don't do it again. That kind of thing. And I did it. I didn't know. I knew after that first day, this is television. It's a bit different.
Right. I love how angry you were in the first couple of seasons of Community. Like, Senior Chang was so angry all the time.
Yeah, I definitely, it was really just a few months after coming off of The Hangover. I hadn't really thought about it that way too, because and I think I was just kind of playing off of the kind of the newfound confidence I had learned from The Hangover. So I was playing things generally a little bit aggressively, and I did notice by like the last season, the Yahoo year, everything was kind of full circle where I kind of played everything more. A little bit more like role models are knocked up. It's right. So when I think of Community, I think of like different phases of my acting career and kind of different choices I made. And I know Judd Apatow, he was the one who told you that you're funniest when you're angry, right? Yes, he told me that. And I remember even asking him, like, so when I play calm, what does that mean? Well, that means your anger level's at a 0. So he would tell me this years later. And that always informed me. And sometimes, and I remember using that in Community when let's say there was a take I'm not really executing the way the writers envisioned it. Especially that first season, I would just I'll give a little bit more pepper on it, or a little bit more juice on it. And then it would take me into an area where, I can find the truth. And maybe, it's not just getting angry and shouting the line. I hate to be so inside the actor's studio. It's almost like you get angry, you find your own voice, and then you get to I hate to say this, but the truth of the scene. Yeah. And then, if I'm saying it yelling, then I can actually go back and contract it to a lower volume. But at least I found my truth. I'm sorry to be so pretentious. I know. I feel like I have a young James Lipton thing going on here right now. Anyway, like I feel like I think he's stepping down. I think I could get that gig maybe. I think you could. All you need is a hoverboard, Junior. Look at him. Yeah. You got to play Johnny Be Good a couple of times. Call Chuck Berry's uncle. Was it his uncle? Cousin? I think so. Cousin Marvin Berry. Yeah. Something anyway, like cousin Marvin Berry. Yeah. But it's funny you mentioned the truth side of things because it's not funny, but it's funny that you... Audience of one laughing at you. Got 100%. Okay. Story of my life. Yeah. It's funny that you mentioned the truth side of things because I always thought it was interesting with Senior Chang, that he was really, really funny. I kind of hated him for a while, but there was always some kind of humanity in there. Like there was something kind of I liked about him. Yeah, Yeah, I guess I don't think I consciously. The nicest compliment I get from fellow actors is when they see my whole body of work, if they know me well or they know my work well, they're like, there always seems to be a trace of humanity in your comedy, even if you're playing someone as out mentally ill like Senior Chang. Well, mental illness is a human condition. So I think maybe subconscious, it's nothing I do deliberately, but there's something possibly subconscious about me being a physician or my medical background where you're trying to just humanize everything. So
is it that people
possibly
are misunderstanding what you're trying to do? Is that what you
I absolutely believe that. I do think that when I play in movies where I've been kind of cast as the villain, I feel like the key is to never think of yourself as the villain. You think of yourself as misunderstood. You think of yourself as the white hat, and they just don't understand. And that I approach that with every role, whether I'm a protagonist or an antagonist or a side player. I never think I'm a bad person, quote unquote. Yeah.
Before we move on from Community, did you have a great story from filming that show?
One of my favorite stories is, and a lot of people don't know this, on the 5th year of Community, I was getting burned out, and Chang was getting so crazy, I think due to the aggressive style of my first 2 years. Well, they're like, I think Dan and the writers were assuming, oh, well, he likes that style, so we'll play it to a point. But what was happening was, like, I was kind of growing tired of it, of my own style of acting. I was like, maybe I want to kind of go back to going back to it's all part of an actor's evolution, just kind of discovering what I want to do at that particular time. And I was getting frustrated because like I'm living in an air vent and putting Vaseline on myself and I'm eating a pine cone sandwich. And I'm like, I used to be a doctor, okay? and I was just getting burned out being on the show, where I ended up emailing Dan because I wanted to kind of like, I didn't want to be that actor complaining about a bigger part, because actors, having run my own show, Dr. Ken, when actors want a bigger part when they want, it wasn't that. I wanted something more grounded. And so I emailed him because I want to make sure I chose my words carefully. I would love for Chang just to be a straight man, or maybe to, in the canon of his character, he went to jail. He did try to harm the study group, but he paid his dues, and he's kind of like this Charlie Brown character that no matter how pathetic he is, at least he's trying. And is there some way, and he doesn't have to win in the end. He could still, quote unquote, be on the losing end of everything, but can you give him an arc where he tries to redeem himself, even if he makes things worse?
Right.
And I thought Dan would kill me, for saying I didn't want to come off complaining. And by that time, also, it was a stressful time because Donald Glover had just left the show. So
right.
They're trying to fill a void. So I knew as a writer, too, he had a lot of stuff to juggle.
Chevy had left around then, too.
Chevy
right?
had left around then, too.
Yeah,
so they had 2 character vacuums, And so it was a challenging time for the show. So for me to complain, I was self-aware that, okay, I don't want to pile on right now,
Yeah.
But it is kind of like 5th or 6th year in a show. Every actor, you do get kind of like, you do get tired of, you get overly familiar. And Dan, so I said, I was make sure I want to be respectful and self-aware of what I'm asking. I even said, look, I know I'm that actor right now complaining. I get it. So I just want you to know, I'm not doing this out of my ego. I'm only doing it because I love the show so much and I love the character that I'm really doing it out of passion, not ego or fame, And he sent me the nicest email back, and I kind of get emotional thinking about it, because he said, he explained why I'm doing all these obvious jokes, and we're eating a pine cone sandwich because, we're doing this weird David Fincher-like episode. We're looking for the ass-crack bandit, but shooting it like in the style of Seven. Yeah. And it's a weird conceptual episode that doesn't have any big laughs. Your character has the only 2 guaranteed laughs in the show, and that's kind of your job on the show, to give them guaranteed laughs. That's your device. And as an actor, I understood. I was not offended by that. And in fact, it informed me. He goes, please eat this pine cone sandwich for Uncle Dan. And I promise the next episode, I will write you a monologue to even where you will cry in a scene, and even your daughters will go, wow, your father my dad has amazing acting range. And I said to myself, well, I'm not that good an actor. I can't do that. I can't cry in a scene. And literally he wrote in monologue. He said, no, I'm gonna write a monologue where you're gonna cry on camera, you're gonna have this amazing arc. And I was like, well, and I even told people, like, I'm not that good an actor. And then I got choked up. My monologue and every word in my script the next episode was the email that I wrote, was my words that I wrote him in that email.
Oh, man.
And I mean, I just started crying. And action, boom. And every word I read was
from you.
Was from me talking about my character. It was meta upon meta upon meta. And it was, honestly, that's why I love Community so much, because it made me a better actor.
I feel like we're coming across like so many different moments
Yeah.
that most actors would dream of,
Yeah,
and not just opportunities.
I've already lived 10 lifetimes. I already lived a lifetime as a doctor, and so I really do feel the rest of my career, really, the rest of my life, quite frankly, is just a bonus. So when I'm doing stand-up, I feel like this is the year that I've come full circle, and I think it's no coincidence. I'm here at JFL, doing Montreal just for laughs, doing Toronto. I'm doing Sydney. I'm doing Sydney and Melbourne JFL. I kind of want to go back full circle. I even calling my Netflix special, which I just shot a week and a half ago, calling full circle at the comedy club where my wife first saw me do comedy at the Pasadena Ice House.
Right.
And so I feel like this year, and it's also directed by John Chu, Crazy Rich Asians. He just directed my Netflix special. So there's all this full circle elements that I'm having in the play, and I feel like this feels right that I'm doing this right now, and this is just kind of where. Because when you're doing this career where, there's always this career is kind of a rat race, what's my next move? And I really don't know. All I want to know is I want to be happy doing what I'm doing. And right now, I might as well just do what I'm happy when I'm doing. I'm really happy on stage doing my stand-up, I do it really more for me than anybody else.
But I feel like sending that email to Dan Harmon, I feel like by taking that opportunity in The Hangover, even though to be naked, to really take a chance there and to quit your job as a doctor, I feel like there's advice there, or there's a model there for creative people,
Yeah, be naked in a movie. You can get famous, make millions of dollars, and complain about your part like any TV actor.
Yeah. Thank you very much for coming. That's about it. Thank you very much. Yeah.
No, I really think to me, I think my life has been about going with the flow, but just my manager has said this, my longtime manager I've worked with for 15 years, and he said, you always make the most of whatever opportunity is given. It could be, even on Crazy Rich Asians, that was an afterthought, because I actually, I almost didn't do Crazy Rich Asians because of Dr. Ken. My show, if my show had gotten renewed, it would actually conflicted with the schedule. And when the show got canceled, John Chu, when we become really good friends, he was like, hey man, if anything happens, and your part's all yours if you want it. So the moment it got canceled, I said, well, this got canceled. He goes, okay, you're on a flight to Singapore. And so that part, and so when I watched Crazy Rich Asians, that scene where I'm shooting, my first scene, 24 hours earlier, my show had just been canceled. I'm emotionally numb. And so I'm improvising that whole scene. Yeah. All of that's like all ad-libbed. And I remember just how I think, I feel like I've been blessed by so many moments where I've just made them. I look at my acting exercises and my acting roles as like, okay, make the most out of it, and sometimes do it just for you. Just do it for you. Like, do it for therapeutic reasons. It just helped me. It's better to shoot a movie like Crazy Rich Asians and then be at home like feeling sorry for myself, So I feel like I guess the message is to just keep moving forward, I guess.
Ken, it's been nice talking to you.
Nice talking to you.
Thank you so much for talking to me. I really appreciate that.
Thank you,
Ken Jeong, everybody.